Good morning, YouTube. Good morning, Finley and Loretta. Thanks for joining us here at Wiki Up Knoll for another update. See what we get into today. I'm pretty excited about today. It's going to be a beautiful, warm day. I know part of what we're going to do is to work on the Quonset hut siding, or to begin to. I've put that off for so long doing other stuff, and the front side, I guess the south side, where the patio is going to be, it needs a little bit more Lowe's wrap attention because, you know, the stuff's not meant to be siding itself. And I also need to work on some trim before we can do the siding that I want to do. So I'll be telling you a little bit more about that this morning. I'm not sure what else we'll get into. Who knows? Maybe some more organizing and getting things prepared for the next steps on that project and other projects over there. So we shall see. I'm just glad that you joined us back here. I hope you enjoyed the video and the update as much as I do. And I will check back with you after we've had some breakfast and sent some packages and sniffed some sniffs and walked the walks here and all of those things. All right, I'm back. We've had our breakfast and sent packages. I have lumber gathered here that I'm going to use for trim around the doors and window on the Quonset hut. First, I have to stain it. So I'm going to go over here because we're working on two things. I have some sawhorses over here to get, and also John's opened up the pole barn because we so expertly stored our wood in there, and two of the pieces of wood we actually use for sort of like scaffolding on the south side of the Quonset hut. We have a pergola built over there, and the pergola, we are able to stand on it if we put these two scrap pieces of lumber up there. So what we do is we put up these pieces, which we're going to get down in a minute, right here, and we put them behind the solar panels. So we'll show what that looks like in a minute. I also am going to be getting these sawhorses down here to use today for my staining project. And John's working on a couple things. He's got dog food he's putting in. He's already done those bags. There's Ringo. Hey, Ringo. So, and he's also got to transfer some water today. So he's got to move water from this tank over to the smaller tank for that smaller IBC tote feeds our dog waterer. So I'll show you what that looks like in a little while. And we'll get all this other stuff set up and show you what we're doing at the Quonset hut today. Okay, we are setting up back here on the south side of the Quonset hut, which is under this pergola for me, and on top of it for John. So this is the Lowe's wrap that is not siding. That's what we're gonna be fixing today. John's gonna be up on this part up here, working on that. We use this as a scaffolding of sorts. And then I'm gonna be under here working on this area. I'm gonna be taking off this old screening that we had up here temporarily, and I'm gonna be staining some trim to put up along the doors here, so that we can put our siding on. I'll show you our siding. Our siding is actually gonna be metal. I have two kinds of siding. You've seen little bits of it in the front of the hut. I got a little bit of used roofing siding from Facebook Marketplace, which is awesome, but I don't have enough to do the whole thing. So those tiles will be on the front where the Airstream parks, and that's these right here. They're really cool. They're old roofing tiles. Somebody had them in their yard for a long time, so they've got these neat like old dirt clay and stuff on them. So they will look pretty on there. And then beyond that, when I run out of that, I'll be using smaller pieces of corrugated metal. And I think the side we're working on today is mostly going to be the old used corrugated metal for the siding, because we have a lot of doors and there's a window up there, and we can cut in and around that. So doing a little bit different on trim. I'll be working on the door trim will actually be 2x4s, which isn't typical, but because of the type of building we're doing and how thick that corrugated metal is, I want to have something a little thicker to meet up with that, because I can't go over top of it. Here's the way the other siding is looking here. So it looks really cool on there, but I think I only have enough to go up to around the door level. So we'll use what we can. But the back side is definitely going to be all corrugated. So John's setting up the ladder over here. There he is, doing our little giant ladder that moves in every position, which is awesome. And then he's going to be putting up the wood, those wood scraps that we got. We put those up there, and then he can walk on them up there. I'll show you that in a minute. All right, I'm gathering up materials. John is going to be working up top. He's got boards to work on up there. I have to move the furniture and get it out of the way here. I'm going to be taking off this old screening. John's going to be working on just completely replacing. He's going to go over top of the Lowe's wrap up here. And you can see that's the window up there that we're going to be trimming around. And I'll be trimming around these doors down here. He's now placing the boards on top of the pergola that he uses as scaffolding. These are just old pieces of plywood, and they reach all the way across. It's a 20-foot pergola, and they reach all the way across, so he can just walk across back there behind the solar panels. You can see there's like a 2-foot plus gap between the solar panels and the wall. So he's gonna be working on that. I'll be down below. I'll set you on a time lapse so you can see us getting all this stuff out of the way and organized and down and moved around and started. I've got my stain gathered up and my stuff gathered up over here. I'm going to be using, it's kind of like a teal blue, they call it like a solid stain. There it is, solid color stain. So it's supposed to go on really solid looking. I don't know if you can see it, kind of a dark teal blue. And then the metal is going to be the siding, of course, so it'll be kind of like silverish, and hopefully some of that other metal that we put on will rust over time and give that kind of look. Some of it is starting to rust already, so I'll set you guys up over here, and then we're going to move some of the stuff around and get ourselves organized. Right, I have got my boards up here. I was going to show you this. These are studs. You normally don't use 2x4s for trim, but like I said, my siding is that corrugated. It's old, it's very thick metal, good metal, and it's corrugated, so it's about, you know, 1.5 inches at the peak of the wave. So I want it to butt up against this because I can't go over it. It's not flat, not the way I would want to. So 2 inches it is. It's going to have a little bit less than 1/2 inch relief when it's all done along the edges. So 2x4s we got, they come stamped with his premium stud stuff. So I have some sanding blocks out. I'm going to work on getting that off of there, hopefully. There we go. So it's coming off of there. Let's see if there's a little higher grit. There we go. All right. Yeah, so I'm just going to sand this off and prepare that. I'm also going to run over the whole thing with some light sanding, just because 2x4s are a little bit rough, right? So I'm going to do that, taking off the stamp before I sand it, or before I stain it. So I'll work on that. Oh yeah, that feels good. And then this one, it's only thankfully stamped at these 3 places, or 2 places on the board. So I'll work on that, get that sanded off, and I'll check back with you and show you what that looks like when it's looking better. Because this is, watching somebody sand is like watching paint dry, right? That's the next thing you'll be watching. All right, I'm back. I got it mostly sanded. There are some spots that just smeared in, which is whatever. I'm going to be trying 2 different kinds of application today. I'm going to use the little horsehair brush, and I'm going to use a roller. This may be sacrilege to some people, but that's okay. This is a solid color stain, like I said before, and I've not used a solid color stain a lot, but I want it to be pretty thick and solid as far as color on the board. I want it to be bold and colorful, but I wanted to stain so that it hopefully soaks really into the wood and you know, gives it good protection and not just to get scratched and repainted over time. So that's why I chose a stain, but I do want it to look dark like painting, so I don't even know how much I'm going to be taking off. So I'm going to try both methods. I've got my paper towels to rub it off if needed, but this is, hopefully you can see that, that's the color. We're in the shade, but it's pretty. I love it. So that's cool. So here comes the brush one, which I've typically used a brush for staining just because staining's like that, but honestly, you know what, this feels like paint, so I may end up using the brush so I can get in all the little grooves, because this is sanded, like I said, but just lightly by hand, because this is going to be exposed wood and I want it to be kind of tough, you know, and look a little bit, I also want it to look a little bit like ruddy, if that makes sense. I want the siding to rust, and I want the I want it to look kind of weathered, you know, in a good way, not actually weathered. So the stain will protect it from actual weather, but maybe give it that look I'm looking for. So let's see what it happens. So I'm going to put it on about this much, and then I'm going to wipe it back and see how dark it is. See how many coats I need to do to give it the, because honestly it feels like paint almost, which is cool. Or like I don't know if you've ever used this kind of stain before, but okay, I'm going to go ahead and wipe it down because it dries quick around here. 'Tis the season for warmness. Well, that's pretty neat. So you can just see some weathered wood grain. I like it. It's got a pretty color. All right. Yeah, I think I will stick with the brush for this. I don't even want to try the roller. But this is, let's see if I can get it a little closer so you can see. You can sort of see the wood grains in there. See there? It's looking good. I think I'll go over another coat so it just looks like faded paint then. And that's the kind of look I'm going for. It looks nice. I really, really like it. All right, I'll check in when I have more to show in just a minute. Maybe I'll have one done and I can put it up and show you in place so you can see the color. It's a little shady over here. All right, so I just propped it up along the door here. You can kind of see it better in the light. I really like it. I think though, instead of wiping it so much, I'm going to just put a coat on it. I did that to the side, and it's more like paint that just soaks in, and it's kind of a solid color, that solid look. So I think I'm going to do that instead and put them all on there. It feels really great. You can feel the wood in it like it's weathered paint almost. It's really nice. So it's going to have this teal, dark teal. The siding behind this is going to be the corrugated metal. This is cedar, which will turn grayish with time, the post here. And then the doors, these are metal doors, but we'll end up eventually, when all is said and done, these will be painted like a burnt copper orange to kind of complement that teal. So I like the color. I think it's awesome. I'm hoping the doors look not quite rusty, but would complement any rust that comes in our corrugated metal siding. So that's what I'm going for. I really like the look of the color. I'm going to go ahead and paint these just like paint instead of scrubbing it off, unless I just get a little bit of goopiness on there that I need to get off. So I'll work on that. I'll show you that on time lapse so it looks like I did something really fast. and then we'll see where we are as far as the morning goes. John is up here working away. It is looking so good and fresh. He just went right over top of the window for right now, which is awesome. So all he likes to do is paint or taping the seams. So I'll get to doing this and see where we go with our finishing. So yeah, I really like the color. It's so pretty. I don't know if you can really see how teal it is, but it's going to be awesome. Right, all 3 boards are painted slash stained, and now it's time for me to use my multi-tool here to trim away the spray foam, especially next to where I'm going to be putting the trim, where it came out along the edges. So I'm going to work on that and then be measuring for the door frame install. So we're going to put this one on first, and then I'll be cutting these to the right length. So I'll be working on this first. So this is the multi-tool. This one's Makita. They have every brand, I'm sure, of these. This is battery powered, and it's really cool. It just rotates like that, and then you can see just like butter. And then this will come off. Oh, I have to do the bottom too. Duh. Just like butter, like I said. And then this will come off, and I'll be putting some caulking to seal along that threshold as well. Some of the outdoor stuff. I also have to clean this up. Got a lot to do out here for beautification and trim, but I'm excited to have the trim up over here. I'll be working on that next. I'll probably put you on maybe a time lapse for that, because you know, it's a lot of little things to see. So you'll see me back when I am putting up the trim against right here. All right, so my area is now cleaned and ready for caulk at the bottom. I'm ready to measure and cut my trim pieces for this door. John has made tremendous progress up here. I think you can see he's actually eBay taping the seams. I have a lot of eBay tape. I don't have any more of the Lowe's tape, so it's a different brand. Whatever, we sell on eBay. It works the same. And he is making his way back down the ladder, so we're almost ready to wrap up for the morning. We are losing the cool time of day working window, so we'll probably finish this one up today and then move to indoor projects for the afternoon. This is one of those reasons why we have so many projects going on, because this time of year it's hot in the afternoon, but I don't like to sit around. So we'll do our outdoor stuff in the morning early like this. It's like almost 9:30 in the morning right now, so we're approaching hot part, and then we move inside. So we'll work on that. I'm going to try to finish this one up before we move inside for other projects, and you will see what that looks like shortly. Alrighty, John is finishing up the last recover of the Lowe's wrap over here, which is looking great. And I have got this board up. I'm going for, I guess, I don't know what this is called, like a flush mount, so that when you look dead on at it, you see the color of this board, and then you're gonna see the siding, which is that corrugated metal. And this is, you know, a 2x4, which is about 1.5 inches thick. And our corrugated metal, it's gonna come, you know, about 2/3 that way out at the bend. So that's why I went with thicker. And then this is mounted to the board, the framing board for the door. So when you look at it, you're gonna see the green, teal, and then the orange of the door. And we'll probably do this a similar color to this, so that it goes together. So that's what we're doing. I pre-drilled the holes and I countersunk the holes with a bigger bit, and so that they didn't split because they're on this side of the board. And then we'll be able to go in behind here. There's a small little gap that I can caulk before we do our siding. That's for another day. So I'm getting ready to screw the rest of these guys in. I'm using regular wood screws. I know it's not ideal and pretty for trim typically, but that's what we're doing. And then after this is all on here, I'll be able to go back and repaint the final coat of stain on here and put wood fill in my little countersunk hole right there, and paint over it with the same stain. So that will be clear and awesome. So it's looking good. I'll show you what's going on in a few minutes once I get these all screwed on. And then the top piece is going to go across the top with a small angle at the top. All right, so I have the 2 sideboards up, and I've got the top one placed. This is not how it's going to be, but it will be capped like that. Now I'm going to get my ladder and cut an angle. I'm going to have a 45-degree angle on this side as well as that side. So I'm going to work on that. I'll take it down and mark the holes the same way. And I will pre-drill them, countersink them. I'm using 2 different size drill bits for this. I have the small drill bit that's smaller than my screw head there. And then I have the large drill bit, which is a little bit bigger than the head of the screw. I think I said that wrong. So this is a little bigger than the head of the screw, and this one's smaller than the shaft of the screw, or whatever that is. So countersinking it so I can go back with wood putty and fill in the holes, and then repaint / stain the wood as it's finished. So I've got the first coat on. Now I'm going to mark and cut that top piece, which you can see. And this will be the last one we do for the day, because as you can see, our shadow is diminishing. We are around 10 a.m. and it is too hot to be out here. So we're getting ready to switch gears after I finish this board, but I will show what that looks like in just a minute. All right, here's the final look for today. I still now need to do the other doors and the window up there. John got all the new Lowe's wrap put on. He's on the other side doing a little patchwork over there as well, so we can start siding. Woohoo! This is the general look of what it's going to look like, though. You can see all the trim will have this little 45 after it, and you can also see my little screw there is sticking out as well as over there. I'm gonna have to put those in with pliers because I've done this before. I centered my door behind these little arches in the pergola on both sides. And so when you go to put something in there, the gap is too small to put the drill in. So I gotta do that one by hand with some pliers. So that'll be fun. So I'm gonna do that. I'm not gonna do it right now because it is not the morning early coolness anymore. We have definitely lost our window of cool weather. It's time to move in and do something on the inside for a little while in the shade. Perhaps some cob work, perhaps some organizing. It's like winter. When it's hot outside, I just go in and pretend it's a blizzard and stay inside. But this is what it looks like this is what the trim is going to look like all around. It's going to be, of course, painted again after I've filled all my little holes and caulked around the bottom, and then we'll have patio starting out here once the siding's on. So very excited about this progress. I hope you enjoyed today's different kind of progress, and I hope you will plan to join us back here next week for another update at Wiki Up Knoll Off Grid.